Hello friends, and welcome to the chaos. I'm Emily, if you have not been here before, and today I am starting my kind of stash overhaul. I have a lovely stash and I have some gorgeous yarns, and I want to be a little bit more intentional about using said gorgeous yarns. I have been gifted a large amount of like acrylic yarns and whatnot from somebody gave me the stash of their mothers that they were no longer using, and so that has been added into my stash, and I just have felt a little bit overwhelmed by like not really knowing or grasping, I guess, exactly what is in my stash anymore. And so I've decided before the new year, before 2026 arrives, I'm going to take this week between Christmas and New Year's. Today is December 26th. And I'm going to assess a lot of things. I'm going to go through all of my works in progress. I'm going to go through all my stash and just really reorganize everything and make sure that, you know, all the like yarns are with like yarns and just everything is in a good organized state. And so I have a better grasp of what I have and what projects I can make with the yarn that I have. I am hoping, as I have mentioned a few times on this channel, to participate in the 12 Cast-ons this year, 12 Cast-ons 2026. And so my hope is to take this time between Christmas and New Year's and really overhaul everything and assess everything, and then starting January 1st to do 12 Cast-ons. That is my hope and plan, and we will see where we get with it. But yeah, so right now I'm just kind of sitting down and I'm going to go through my tubs of yarn. I have, like, this is a little scrap yarns tub, so that one I don't really need to go through. This one is a mix of scraps and like pre-round skeins and just odds and ends of things. And so I kind of like this. I want to sort through it and just really try and have like yarns with like yarns. So if I've got like fingering weight, hand-dyed skeins of yarn, I want all of those to kind of be together. If I've got acrylic yarns, I want those to all be together, and just kind of really overhaul everything and assess what I have and just go from there. I had thought about trying to weigh it all and find out exactly the weight of everything that I have, and that is just too overwhelming for me to even think about doing. I would be here for days and days and days. So instead of that, I don't think I'm even going to try and really count it. I think I might count some of the things, like if I have full skeins of yarn, I might count how many of those I have. But yeah, mostly my goal is just organization and assessing and going over it. And if I'm like, ooh, here's one, this is an acrylic yarn and I'm not ever going to use it, Goodwill it. Like, just go ahead and donate it and don't stress too much about it, basically. And just don't overthink it. If it's something that I don't think I'm going to use, just pass it on to somebody else that can use it. So that's kind of what I'm going to kind of be working on for the next bit. So I am just hoping with this vlog to kind of update you. I'm going to show you some of my works in progress in a little bit, once I kind of get some of this yarn better organized. And yeah, this is just going to kind of be a stash review and assessment and 12 Cast-ons plans. That's what you can expect from this video. I am utterly surrounded by yarn. This is so much. Oh my goodness. There's so many projects. I have a shocking amount of Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. and a giant pile of Barocco vintage sock, which I'm not terribly surprised by. Slowly making progress. Well, this has not gone as uneventfully as I had hoped. The baby woke up after only napping for about 45 minutes, which was incredibly frustrating. And then I fought with him for probably about 40 minutes to try and get him to go back to sleep. And my sweet husband has both boys outside right now, so I thought I'd do a quick little update. I didn't end up sorting any of the yarn quite as much as I had planned to, just because with the kids and stuff it wasn't going to happen. But I've done a little bit, and I've sorted through some of my works in progress, and I've frogged a couple things, and I have a better grasp of what I have, which is kind of what my goal was. I still have a couple of projects to frog. One of them, Sad Days, is my Christmas set. I've just realized that with this, it just looks so good. I love it so much. However, with my sensitivity at the neck and everything, I just don't think that this is going to be a good option for finishing, just because I feel like it's just going to choke me and I'm going to hate it and it's going to drive me nuts and I'm going to be so sad that I spent so much time making it. So my thoughts is that I'm going to frog it, and I've already gone back and forth on it a couple of times, and I think I just need to stick with my initial gut instinct and just go for it and just frog it. And then I will use the yarn and make like a vest of some kind that's like a Christmassy vest. I think that would be super fun. I could either use the Tulsa Tank pattern or one of the other patterns and maybe do some more color work in it, because I do really, really like the color work in it. But I just don't think I will wear it with the neckline as is. So I'm going to frog that. A couple other things. I just sorted through my basket of cottons, and I found a couple of things that I didn't realize were even in there. I don't know why these were in there. Yeah, the little baby socks that I made for my second little baby. They're just so cute. These are the, what is the pattern called? It's just like newborn baby socks or something. It's a really simple ribbed sock pattern. So I'm going to tuck these into my drawer for future children. And then I also found a progress keeper from, I know it's from something from Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. and it's made by EB & Co. US. She makes amazing stitch markers, progress keepers or whatever. I completely forgot that this existed and I just rediscovered it, so that was exciting. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up a little bit for today, and then I will get back in touch with you maybe tomorrow. I have a package coming and it's just arriving. How exciting. Yes. Anyway, I might be able to touch base with you tomorrow for a bit and just kind of update you. I've got a few projects that I have saved that I'm going to try and quickly finish before the end of the month, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's all of my update for today on this stash organizing. Sunday. It is December 28th today, and it is after nap time. My husband has the boys outside in the yard, so I have a few minutes here that I'm going to try and sit down and kind of iron out my final plans for 12 cast-ons. I went through my Ravelry library and wrote down all of the different patterns that I have been wanting to make for a while, that I still love and would really like to knit. Because one of the things that I've realized going through my library is that there are a number of things that wouldn't work for me anymore, or I know more about knitting, so the construction methods I just have no interest in trying. There's a number of like Andrea Mowry patterns in there that I was really in love with at the time when I purchased them, but I did not realize that they were like bottom-up construction. She seems to really, really like the bottom-up construction, and that's just not something that I really want to tackle at the moment. So not really interested in that. And I also have the funny like crew neck thing. So a lot of the crew neck sweaters in there, I don't really want to try and make at the moment. So I found a whole list of items, and then I started trying to kind of think of the different yarns that I have, because my goal for this is to not purchase any yarn whatsoever. And so I don't want to pick patterns that I don't have yarn for. And so I am having to do a little bit more thought and planning for this 12 cast-ons project than I had intended, just because I don't want to buy yarn. And so I need to make sure that I match yarn and patterns. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I was trying to kind of think of what are the patterns or the designers that I have been so very much wanting to knit patterns from, and to kind of think through that. Like what are the ones that I think about continually. And so I know that there's Andi Satterlund. She is a wonderful designer. She designs vintage inspired patterns, which I absolutely love. And I was really, really sad because I realized that she took a break and she removed all of her knitting patterns from online for a number of years, like maybe 2 to 4 years, and she has just this year come back and some of her patterns are available again. And so I just realized my husband's computer is going because he's got Parsec on. There we go. That'll be less distracting. She is making some of her patterns available again, which is very, very exciting for me. I have a number of her patterns that I really wanted to make, but then again, there was those things that I kept putting off, and so I never ended up making them. And then when I was like, all right, I'm gonna go make one of these, they weren't available, and I was so sad about it. So I've got some of her patterns that I really want to pick. One of the 12 cast-ons needs to be an Andi Satterlund pattern. I would like to try and knit a Kuda pattern. I did a test knit for her last year, I think. And I'll be honest, it wasn't my favorite. It was not the best test knitting experience I've ever had, and I felt like the pattern was well written, but it seemed like the math was off. And it wasn't just me, like multiple people were saying the math was off. And it wasn't really corrected. I don't know. So I wasn't super impressed with that pattern, but I love her designs, and I've been following her for a number of years now, and I would really like to try one of her other designs. The problem is that the majority of her patterns take a lot of yarn. I have bought, I think it's the oatmeal sweater, which is this beautiful cable v-neck sweater, which would be perfect. I don't have that amount of DK weight yarn to do it with, so I know that I'm probably going to have to put Kuda on pause and try and make some of her patterns at a later date. I have been thinking a lot about the Tegna pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I cast it on at one point and I just never finished it, and I think that that's one that I really want to try and like push through and actually make this time. So that one's a strong contender. There's the Owls sweater by Kate Davies that I would really like to make, but that pattern is a bottom up pattern, and like I said, I'm not interested in that construction. So I have to decide whether or not I want to try and do the work to put the owl chart on like the ranunculus sweater pattern, which is also a circular yoke pattern, but it's worked top down. So I have to try and decide if I think that that's gonna happen. I know that I want to do a retroactive pullover, which I cannot remember the name of the designer. That's a sweater that I've been wearing a lot in the last month or so. I want to make another one of those. I've been toying with the Alpine Bloom, another pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I'm a little bit worried about the neckline though, because that one is definitely a higher neckline, and so I'm not sure if I want to risk doing a colorwork sweater if I'm worried the neckline's going to be a little bit too close. So I'll have to look into that one a little bit more. There's the Cargill Cowl by Rebecca Clow of the Creabea Podcast. And this is she has the Cargill sweater, which I have been dreaming of making since the second she released it. However, again, it has that crew neck, and I don't have enough DK weight yarn. So what I'm thinking I would do is I would experiment and do the Cargill Cowl, and that will give me some experience with the stitch pattern and everything, and I can just see if I want to tackle a whole sweater in it. And then we've got a few other ones. I've got the Felicity sweater by Yamagara, I believe it is. I think her name is Bernice. It's a beautiful, beautiful sweater. Very simple with like some lace detailing on the cuffs. And I have some Knit Picks yarn that I purchased specifically to make this sweater. So that one's probably going to be put in there. There's the Summer Vibe top, which has that like kind of, it's not a feather and fan pattern, but it's a similar style. It's like they're sisters, not twins. And I would really, really like to do that one, but I just have to make sure that I have enough yarn for it. And then, let's see here. I'm just trying to grab out a few that I'm thinking of. The Staffen by Rebecca of Creabea. I desperately want to knit this one. And it is a pattern that I have both versions. She released it in like an Aran weight, and then she released it in a DK and a fingering weight, which I'm super happy about. I would probably make the Aran weight vest. That's what I'm thinking I would do. And I would use some of my, well, actually I have one of them over here. I wouldn't use this specific one because it has the Tweety Flex in it, which I think would detract from the beautiful texture stitch patterns in the Staffen sweater, or in the Staffen pattern. But I have two other colorways, a green and like a turquoise. Not turquoise. Maybe turquoise, I don't know. But I really want to get at least one of these cast on for the 12 cast-ons. I'm thinking about just doing a basic vest with this one. And then there's also the pattern Sote, I'm not sure, by I think it's Alicia Plummer. And it's a beautiful textured sweater pattern. And the yardage I have in these are 400 gram balls, and you get 892 yards. So if I remember correctly, that's enough to make like a whole sweater for my size, which is bonkers. Yes, Alicia Plummer. It's a really low yardage pattern because it's such a chunky gauge. And so let me see, if I was to do it's also supposed to be really oversized, so I would do like not the required ease. I almost never do the required ease. I always go down because I don't like super oversized stuff. So like it has like 8 inches of positive ease, which I would absolutely not do. But even if I did, I could go up to the third size, which has 845 yards. And the third size has a 48-inch bust, which would be over 4 inches of positive ease. So I will honestly probably do the second size, which is 42¼ inches of positive ease. And so I should have plenty of yarn in one of these to do that. So I swatched with this at one point, and this swatch is still in there. But yeah, so I definitely want to do that. There's the Kathy Cardi by Rebecca of the Creabea, and that one I was thinking about swatching in a fingering weight, and then using Devin from Knitty McPurly has a gauge switcheroo sheet that then Cheryl from Wise On Knits has taken and turned into like a calculator where it does all of the work for you. And so I have looked at that a couple of times, and so I might just try and plug in my gauge with a fingering weight for the Kathy Cardi into there and figure out what size I would need to make if I did it fingering weight. The only dilemma I would have with that is that I really think that the Kathy Cardi needs to have a solid colored yarn. And I do technically have a sport weight non-superwash yarn that Stephanie from Texas Peach Knit gifted me a couple of years ago. And I haven't used it because it's like really special yarn. But the Kathy Cardi is the first pattern that Rebecca from Creabea started trying to design before she got into designing. And I've been following her since before that point. And when she started sharing about the Kathy Cardi, I was like yes please. I loved it so much. So I feel like it would be a special enough pattern to use with the special yarn. So there's that one. I really want to knit one of Stephanie from Telly Bean Knits, one of her cowl patterns. I just absolutely love them, and I have a few of them in my Ravelry library, and so that's one that I'm looking at. This one is one that I am 100,000% casting on, and I cannot wait. I have been dreaming about this for months. It's the Sorkel. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's a pattern by, again, don't know how to pronounce the designer's name. It's like this one right here, Albiona McLaughlin. Absolutely incorrect and totally butchered. It's this gorgeous, like oversized, cozy, snuggly cardigan, and I want to make a scrappy version because I don't really want to make a scrappy blanket or a scrappy shawl because I'm not a huge shawl wearer. I do think I want to at some point make a shawl, but not at this moment. So instead, what I want to do is I want to make a scrappy version of this cardigan that it's got this giant shawl collar and it's just so snuggly, and it would be like the perfect reading chair cardigan. And I've been dreaming about this for so long now. Not that long, like months. But yeah, and it's really cool because the pattern includes options for fingering weight, sport weight, or DK weight. I would do it in fingering weight scraps. And for the size that I would do, I think I would fixed on either the 3rd or 4th size. So 44 inches or 48 inches around the bust. So I would need like 400 grams of scraps, I think. So this would be like a long-term project. This is not something that I would expect to get done in 2026. It would be a much longer-term sort of a project. But I want to get that one started. And then there's a couple of other ones that I have found, some different cowl patterns. I want to try and make the pressed flowers kerchief, but turn it into a cowl. Because I was looking at it and I realized that it's worked side to side, so it would be fairly easy. It's a free pattern. It's Amy Christopher's, whichever one it is. It is worked side to side, and so it would be fairly easy to figure out the repeat and then cast on extra stitches so that then I could seam it together, kind of like the pretty little cowl. This is one I have blocking here, where when it's done blocking, I'm going to seam that side to this side, and that's what turns it into a bandana cowl. And so that's what I'm thinking. My camera cut up, but what I was saying is that I would seam it up, and that's what I would try and do with the pressed flowers kerchief, is just cast on more stitches and then work it side to side and then decrease down to the same amount of stitches as I had cast on at the beginning, and then just seam it up the back and make a bandana cowl. And I have some yarn from a lovely friend in France who sent me some yarn, and I want to check the yardages and see if I have enough to do that with that yarn, because that would be so special and beautiful. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking of at this moment. I have a test knit that I have to cast on for Jessica McDonald, and it's the Dreaming of Spring pattern, and I'm going to use, the lighting is terrible, so it's not very accurate. This is a very lightly variegated. It's all hints of blues and greens and grayish, and it's a mostly... It's definitely not solid, but it's a subdued enough variegated that I think it'll work. So I'm going to do that. And then I have a pink yarn that I'm going to use for the colorwork, because it's a colorwork pattern and it's beautiful. And then I need to get a stick season cardigan cast on for my husband out of the blue Lion Brand Woolies yarn, which I got that one frogged. That has been frogged. I frogged my faux set, my Christmas faux set pattern. I frogged a hat that I had in progress that I want to get recast on, but I realized it was just too big and I just needed to start over. So I frogged those. I'm almost done with my patchwork blanket, which I'm so excited about. I'm actually casting off right now, so I'm very, very close to being done with that. And then I've had a solid sort through of like all of my other WIPs, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think there's a couple other things I can get done before the end of the month. And then I can start fresh on January 1st. And I am thinking that because the chestnut and my husband's cardigan are like my need to do patterns, I might count them as one so that I can cast on an extra thing. But yeah, we'll see. I have to kind of go through here, and I want to make sure that for the 12 cast-ons I pick accessories and garments, because I would really love it if I could get at least half of the 12 cast-ons done in 2026. That would be amazing. And so I want to try and make sure I have a balance of smaller projects and bigger projects. Like, I know that the big oversized cardigan, that's not going to get done next year because it's going to be dependent on scraps. And so I do not have enough scraps to just do that whole thing. So there's that one, which I had also thought about trying to do. This was the other option for that one. I had thought about trying to use my Mystery Mouse. That one's over here. Or no, that one's the other one. My Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. Advent Calendar from 2023. It was the Agatha Christie one. Yes, because last year was Jessica Fletcher. This year was Beauty and the Beast. It was the Agatha Christie one. And I have thought about using that for the circle, whatever. Does it say how to pronounce it up here? No, it just means circle in Irish Gaelic. So the circle cardigan. That I could potentially use that advent calendar for that cardigan. So that would be the other option if I wanted to try and get it done sooner. But I also love the idea of doing a really scrappy one. So, still to be decided. But that's kind of my update for now. I'm going to sit here and try and figure out a couple of things, narrow down my list, pick which Andy Satterlund pattern I'm going to do, and kind of go from there. So... and happy Monday. It is December 29th today. I have just made myself a cup of like steamed milk and cream with some spices on it. I have been watching Piano Spun and on YouTube, and her series of spinning and crocheting the World of Wool fiber advent, which has been so much fun. Shauna from Shauna Stitches had recommended that, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I have grabbed out some of the yarns from my stash that I am thinking about using for projects for the 12 cast-ons. And I need to go through and check the yardages on them, and then check the yardages on the patterns that I'm thinking about using them on, and compare the two. So it's actually funny because I just realized these are all European yarns. I have 2 balls of this Lang Yarns Merino 70, which is a superwash merino. It's 98% extra fine virgin wool merino and 2% polyester. And it's really stunning. The color is 733.0115. It'll focus. There you go. These are 2 balls that... Oh, no, come on. There we go. These are 2 balls that 2 of my brother-in-laws went to Amsterdam earlier in the year. I feel my hair is just looking funny. It's just looking funny today. They went to Amsterdam earlier in the year, and when I found out they were going, I was like, there's yarn stores in Amsterdam. And so they were very sweet and stopped by and got me a couple different kinds of yarn. And this was some of it. This has 70 meters to 50 grams. So it's not a ton of yardage. I think it's, so if it's 70 meters to 50 grams, is that more of a worsted weight? I was thinking it was a DK weight. It's such a my toddler got into this one, so that's why it's like, but if you look at this, if I can get it to focus on there, it is like so stretchy. Anyway, there's that one. Then I have 2 balls of the Santa's yarn, alpaca wool, I guess. This was a gift from a friend in France, and the other yarn that I have here is also from her. This is 60% alpaca and 40% wool, and it has 100 meters to 50 grams. Ooh, okay, so I have 200 meters here. And this is in the colorway, I'm not sure, that's in French. So, I have 2 of those. These are all cowls. That's what I'm looking at specifically here is cowls. What I did when I went through and organized my yarn is I actually pulled out and have one smaller tub that's just for like accessories, and it's so nice. I really like that. I don't know why I haven't done that before. And then I have these, which are 2 different colors of the Ulysses. I don't know. It's 100% wool, 185 meters to 50 grams, and this is the yarn that I was thinking about using for the pressed flowers kerchief packed into a cowl. It's so beautiful and soft, and like, oh, it would be absolutely perfect. So since I have more of this, this would be the main color. This is a contrast color. I would love it if I could do it the other way around, but I only have 1 ball. So basically I need to go on and check and see, look on my Ravelry and find the patterns. Oh my goodness, log back in there. So let me see here. With the brown, so there's a couple different options. I really, like I mentioned, I want to make the cargo cowl. And it takes a decent amount of yardage. Like, it's 416 yards. I don't think I'm going to have enough of either the laying yarns or the Santa's yarn. I don't think that's going to be enough. Because this is, what is meters translated to yards? Yeah, I only have 218 yards of the alpaca, which means I have a lot less. I have about 150 yards of the laying yarn. So neither of those are going to work for the cargo cowl. I may just have to hold off on doing the cargo cowl because I don't currently have 2 skeins of DK weight yarn that I want to dedicate to it. So that might just mean that it is eliminated from the 12 cast-ons for right now, which is totally fine. The other one, let me see, pressed flowers. What is the yardage on this one? 228 yards. Oh. So how much is it for each color? Does it tell me? I don't see that it tells me how much I need per color. It just says that I need 1 ball each of... Oh, technically if I only need 1 ball each of the 2 different colors, does that mean that I could swap it and do this one as the main color? I feel like I would be really playing yarn chicken with it though, if I did it that way. I don't know though, because I'm planning to cut off the tips of the wingspan. I would love it if I could do it in this one. I think that this one's a little bit more flattering for my skin tone than this one is. They're both beautiful, but so I might be able to try that. I'm kind of excited about that. Okay, so this will work for that. Awesome. And then let's see what other cowl. what other cowls do I have in here that I could potentially use this brown yarn for, because I really, really want to use this brown stuff. It's so soft and like will be so cozy. And I just want a really basic cowl and probably not another pretty little cowl. I have made so many of those. I love that pattern. There's another cowl I had. Did I not save it in my library? Bother. Okay. Well, I'm going to see if I can find that quickly. And I will be back. Okay, the other cowl that I was thinking of is the Wandering Waves Bandana Cowl by Francois Denoy. I'm not sure. It definitely has way too much yardage requirements. It needs 350 to 390 yards. So, like I said, I only have like 220 of these. So what I might do is I might try and do a little Ravel research and find a different one quickly. But if not, if I can't find one for that, then I'll just save that for later and not worry about it. The Pressed Flowers cowl is definitely going to be on my 12 cast-ons. I pulled these out because the thing that I have realized is that not only, I think I mentioned this, are there patterns that I really, really want to knit, I also have yarns that I, like almost more so than patterns, I have yarns that I really, really want to use. And so then I'm trying to match patterns up with those yarns, which for the most part is working pretty well. But then there's, of course, oh my goodness, I don't know what my hair is doing today. Anyway, there are yarns that are a little bit trickier because I have limited quantities of them. And so it's like this, where I'm trying to figure out patterns that will pair well with them. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. I think that this would be really, really pretty. Perfect. So that's very exciting. I'm kind of narrowing down my options, which, perfect. But yeah, I think that's about all I have for the moment. I think I'm going to, either today or tomorrow, I'm not sure when, I'm going to pull out all of my WIPs and kind of show you the ones that I have now. I have frogged a few things. I frogged my husband's cardigan, I frogged the faucet, my Christmas faucet, I frogged a hat. I have finished the knitting portion of my patchwork blanket, which I'm so excited about. I just have to weave in 100 ends. Not that many, it's probably like 20 or 30. But I have to weave in the ends on that one. I'm working on this cowl, which is a, just, I guess you could say, self-drafted pattern. So I'm just working away on this one. Super quick, super easy. I'm more than halfway done with it, so I feel like this will be done today or tomorrow. And then I have, let's see, were there any other I was going to try and get done? I don't know if there's any other ones other than maybe my husband's fingerless gloves, which still are not done, that I might try and get done before the new year. But yeah, I'm feeling much better about my projects and what I have in progress, and I feel like I've really assessed things and determined what I was or wasn't going to frog, which one of the things I was planning to frog was this sweater. I was actually planning to use this yarn for something else. However, I was looking at it and I was just like, oh, it's beautiful, and I put so much work into it. This is some of my hand-dyed yarn, and the contrast is the Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. in the Ferdy and Cogs colorway. And I was thinking about frogging it because I don't really wear it. And part of why I didn't wear it was because I remembered it as being very heavy and just kind of not really comfortable to wear and seemed too big, and I don't know exactly. I've been wearing it all day today. Like, I tried it on. I was getting ready to like start taking it apart, and I tried it on and I was like, this is actually pretty cute. I actually don't hate this. And so then I was like, all right, I'm gonna try over the next week or so and wear this a few times and see. And like, isn't it funny how that works, where sometimes we get this funny idea in our head about certain things, clothes or whatever else, and then we actually wear them or do the thing and we're like, man, that wasn't that bad. So I've actually been really enjoying it. This is the Festival Sweater by Petite Knit. And it had turned out bigger than I had originally wanted, and you can see it. There's some of this weird, like almost it's not quite puckering, it's like rippling. And I don't know if that's something where I just need to reblock it, and if that would kind of help it go away. I'm not sure. But I've actually been really enjoying wearing it. So this one has been saved from the frog pile. But yeah, I'm gonna sit, watch some more piano spun, think some more about my 12 cast-on projects, knit on the cow, drink my milk, and just chill. Okay, I think I've come to the decision that this is actually going to wait until another time. I've looked it up and realized this is classified as a bulky yarn, which I was thinking it was DK just because I just assumed it. So I'm having to rethink. Honestly, I do feel like this is going to be a pretty little cowl, but since it's bulky, I probably won't have to increase to as many stitches, and maybe I'll try and change things up with the border instead of doing the feather and fan lace and do some sort of a texture stitch or something, but I'm not sure. This is going to go back in the yarn tab to be determined at a later date. This, I am pretty positive, is going to be the Miss Marple scarf, which is a pattern by Suzanne S-VV. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's this really cute like bow scarf. And I have eyed this for many years, and I think this would be perfect. It'll be a cozy brown, like, it's like one of those bow knot scarves or whatever. I think this would be perfect, so I'm very excited. Technically, the pattern calls for 219 yards, which is like a yard more than what I have, but I think that I can very easily just leave out a couple rows, because basically there's a picture of it. I'll try and put a picture of it in here. But it's just like a long scarf that's then like tapered at the ends and stuff. So I think that I could very easily leave out a row or two in the middle and it would be totally fine. So I think that's the plan with that. So I'm very excited about it. I do need to make some fingerless mittens, but I'm trying to decide if I want to count that as one of my 12 cast-ons or not. So still figuring that one out. Still need to figure out the garment situation, which ones I want to do. I know I have to do an Andy Sutherland pattern. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the Crumb pattern, which was a re-release of her free Miette, I always pronounce it Miette in my head, cardigan, which was one of, I think it may have been the very first cardigan I ever knitted it, well, very first garment I ever knit. And so I was looking at it. She has some of her patterns available for purchase now, but I didn't really want to buy another pattern just yet. And so I think I'm going to go for the Crumb pattern, which it is discontinued. It's not currently available, but I have it in my library. So I think I'm going to do that in like this bright fuchsia pink. I'm so excited about it. So I think I've decided on that one. I am going to try and do the Tenya by Caitlin Hunter. I just need to decide what yarn I want to do it in. I think I'm going to do it in this pretty like bubblegum pink from Night Bright Yarn Co. But I'm having to think and making sure that that's what I want to do. So I know those. I know I'm going to do the circle cardigan, which that reminds me. I was originally talking about doing it scrappy, but then last night before I was going to bed, I was sitting there thinking about it. I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is what I do to go to sleep. I start thinking about yarn and the projects I'm going to make with it. And I realized that it's worked in the circle, from what I understand. It's worked in a circle, and then at some point you leave off a spot for the arm, for the sleeves, and then you work like a ton of ribbing in the round. So the thing that I've been a little bit worried about with doing scrappy is that if you start with a circle and then you're kind of working outwards from that I don't want that circle portion to be weird, like either too light or too dark or whatever. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use my Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. Advent Calendar from 2023. and use the main skein for as much of the main portion of the cardigan as I can, and then use all of the mini skeins for the ribbing around the neck, and then that will really show off the different colors in the mini skeins. And then I will probably have to find a different skein to use for the arms. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And I think I'm probably just going to cast on and figure out that extra skein for the sleeves later. And if I can, I think it'd be really fun to save enough from each mini skein to do at the end of the sleeves like a stripe of each color. Whether or not I actually end up doing that will be determined later, just because that would be a lot of ends to weave in. That would be 24 ends per sleeve. At least, just from the mini skeins. So I don't know for sure if that will happen, but the rest of it is kind of what I'm imagining, and I'm very happy with that. I had that thought last night, and I was just like, that's it. Like, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I will save the scrappy project for a different garment. I'm not sure yet, but I do want to cast on a scrappy project. I just have to figure out what it will be. Anyway, now that I've spent much too long trying to figure this out, now I'm going to sit down and knit. Good morning, friends. We have had quite the morning. Both boys decided to get up at about 4:30 this morning after waking me up around 4. So it's a very slow day. Very chill day. Yeah, I've just set the boys down. They're eating some frozen fruit and yogurt and watching a Little Bear episode, and just I'm taking a minute to talk about some knitting because I want to film this last little segment for this vlog so that I can this afternoon have a cheeky little beginning cast on party. That's where we're at today. So I don't think you can, oh, you can kind of see it. I've piled all these project bags on my husband's office chair, and we're going to kind of go through them. Half of them are like empty project bags that I now need to empty and clear out because I have finished some things. Very exciting. Finished or frogged. This is the bag that was holding my Christmas faux set that has now been frogged, and I'm thinking that what I will try and do with this is do some sort of a vest, a striped vest, like a very simple one. I'm thinking a Tulsa tank, like a V-neck version, but not anytime soon. That will be to be determined when that gets cast on. And these are the fingerless gloves that I'm working on for my husband. I'm very close to getting them done. I have the second glove just about to the thumb separation point, and they work up very quickly. I just haven't really had the brain space to sit down and focus on that. But my hope is to do that and get it done by January 6th, which is when we're doing kind of like it's Epiphany. It's historically or allegedly, nobody knows exactly when this all happened, but it is the day that it is celebrated when the three kings arrived to see Jesus. And it probably was not just three kings. But anyway, January 6th, Epiphany, so I have a couple more little presents for the boys to open, and then if I could get those done by January 6th, I would feel like I haven't completely failed on the hand-knitted gifts for my husband this year. So, that one's still to be done. This bag, so technically this is a WIP. I was going to try and do hand-knit hats for my sister's 3 boys for Christmas, and that just did not happen. Not even close. Like, I think I started in maybe September, October or something. This is all the further I got on the first hat. So, absolutely did not happen, and I have since realized that I'm pretty sure this would have been too small anyway. So, I'm a little torn. Part of me thinks that I might just frog this and use the yarn for something else. I need to knit my boys some mittens. So I have these 2 balls of just random acrylic yarn that my toddler picked out when I was in Chattanooga a few months ago. Man, time. And so I would like to knit him some mittens with this, and I think there should be enough. And so I was thinking about doing stripey, but then also maybe use some navy blue for that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm just going to frog this one and just not think about it. It just doesn't need to be done right now. So there's that. And then in here I have my Fosteriana. I always struggle with how to pronounce that, cardigan, which I've made a little bit of progress. I'm nowhere near where I had hoped to be, but it's all bunched up on the needle so you can't really see it. But there we go. I think this is the 5th size that I'm working on, and right now I just have some miles of stockinette to do, but I've only done like 1.5 inches since the sleeve join or joining under the arms. Yeah, that one is not getting done in time for the deadline or anytime soon. I'm just going to try and pick it up at least once a month and just try and slowly work on it through this year. And then I have this bag, which has my sock project, where I have a half-finished object of one sock, and then I've just started the second sock. I haven't touched this in probably 6 to 8 months. I just have not been in a sock knitting mood, so I'm leaving it in there. I've tucked the contrast color yarn back in there, which I had pulled out for something else, and everything's just tucked up in there, ready to go. But this one is probably going to stay in hibernation for a good while until I'm in a sock knitting mood. So it's less of a, it's definitely not an active WIP, and I'm not super counting it at the moment. Then I have my husband's cardigan, which has been frogged, and all of the yarn and everything has been tucked back in here, and I'm going to be casting on at some point during the 12 cast-ons a 6 season jacket for him. That's what that's going to be for. So that's all staying together because I need it all. But it's not an active project right now. Right now it's just yarn. Then I have, very excitingly, my patchwork blanket. The knitting part, as I mentioned, is done. I'm not going to pull it out and do an official reveal. I'm going to save that for my next knitting podcast, but it is done, and now I am just weaving in ends. I wove in a bunch of them last night. I probably have 10 to 15 left or something, and then I can block it, and I'm so excited. I'm hoping, today is December 30th, and I am hoping that I can get it done and blocking before the new year, because that just feels like then it's like done. I'm so excited. And then, in this one, this is one that I hadn't shown you, because this was actually a test knit for Holly from Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. I was testing her Advent pattern, but then there were just a few delays and I didn't get the whole pattern done. I didn't have the whole pattern in order to work on it, to try and get it done by the time Advent started. So I had done a significant portion of the side pieces, because it's a capelet pattern, and I had done the side wedges on one side, and I was just waiting for the rest of the pattern in order to continue with it. But when I didn't get it done in time, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, realistically, I don't think I'm really going to wear a capelet thing. So what I did is I pulled out the wedges, and I just left this like lacy, the book section, as Holly was calling it. Because if you look at it, it almost looks like open books, which is really cool. And I have been going back and forth, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to turn it into a cowl of some kind, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to just do it like this and then just knit a second panel and then seam the sides up, or what. I've decided that I'm just going to continue the lace patterning until I have enough to go around my neck. And that's what we're going to do. So I just picked it up this morning and just started working on another section, and I'm just about to switch to the next color. So this is actually really fun. I've got a bag full of scraps here. I'm going to try and stick with the pink and blue theme, because it kind of unintentionally happened, and then I got about halfway through that section, the lace repeats, and I was like, oh, this is all pinks and blue. I actually really like this. So I'm going to try and stick with that, and there's that. This one is not going to get done before 2026, but that's okay. And then actually, that's actually not too bad. So I have the Posteriana cardigan, the sock WIP, fingerless gloves, cowl, and then this last one, which, well, I almost forgot. Let me go grab that one. Okay, I realize I do have 3 other WIPs to show you, but 2 other that I had kind of forgotten about. Yeah, because those are both empty project bags. I think this is all. I have a crocheted bag that I'm working on out of some 100% cotton, but that's kind of waiting it's kind of in a stagnation mode at the moment just because I'm waiting to figure out what scraps I want to put in it or if I want to just use some whole skeins. So that is technically a WIP, but like not active by any means. I have this crocheted blanket that I started over the summer. I haven't touched it in months, but it is intended to be a blanket for charity, but I've gotten too caught up in the chest knitting and everything else, so I'm hoping to get that done sometime in the new year, but again, it's kind of in a hibernation mode. And this one, let me make sure I don't show you pattern details. It's much more exciting because it's from a Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. Advent, and I am working on knitting the Sundial Top by Wool & Pine Designs. And again, this is another one I kind of started over the summer and was very, very excited about, and then just got caught up in other stuff. I'm mid-row. I had just started some of the mosaic, so there's like nothing to show here. You can hardly even tell it's a thing. So this one I do want to try and pick up and work on, but I'm not sure when that will happen with 12 cast-ons and everything. So there's those. And then, so if I count all of those, then that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 WIPs. It's not bad. It's not bad. Considering like half of those are kind of in hibernation or long-term WIPs. So this one is also a long-term WIP that honestly is the oldest WIP, and it is so old, I completely forgot it was a thing. We moved, it was packed up in a different spot. This is older than the blanket WIP that I've been working on. It's really old. Maybe 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. I'm thinking it was 2017, 2018 time frame. So definitely the oldest thing that I have. And it is another blanket WIP. I was working on making a super scrappy, just using up the tiny bits of scraps that I had from different yarns to make, I kind of was just making it up, but I have realized that this is basically like the, oh, what's it called? It's a blanket that Amy from Noble Character Crafts has made, and it's a free pattern, and it has like all the fringe on it. I'm not, obviously not doing any of the fringe stuff. I've just been using, I was looking at it and I was using magic knots. I think going forward I would use the Russian join method because I think that would probably be a little bit more secure. But yeah, it's just a garter stitch, fingering weight blanket. This is some yarn that one of my younger brothers helped me dye that I knit him some socks out of, and that was a leftover from that. That was a Wool and Honey sweater that I knit, Wool and Honey by Andrea Mowry. These down here were I did a, what do you call it? It was years ago when I was still dyeing yarn. It was a like, almost like a mini advent set. It was like a 5 or 6 day advent set. It was kind of books and bookshelves and whatnot based. I think that one might have been my Paper Boats colorway. This one was a one-of-a-kind, just scrappy one that I actually absolutely loved but couldn't replicate it. This one is actually a Miss Babs. It was like a teeny tiny mini skein from the only fiber festival, yarn festival I've ever been to, which was Maryland Sheep and Wool. And I tossed that one in there. I kind of wish I hadn't, because all the rest of these are my hand-dyed yarns, and so I was considering just ripping it out. I think that's why I stopped working on it. I was considering ripping it out and taking that yarn out so that it would just be like my hand-dyed yarn and whatnot, but I don't know if I'm going to mess with that. I might just leave it there. And I didn't have the best time at that festival, and it was also when I was in a not great spot in life, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm considering ripping it out and restarting it because I wasn't sure how to do it, and so I had started doing increases every other row, and then, or every row maybe. Every other row. It was every other row. And then I thought that that was making it too weird, so then I started doing increases at random rates that sort of looked good, so it's not precise. So I don't know. I might end up taking it out and re-knitting it, but I do really like the idea of having one of these super scrappy blankets on the go that just slowly gets added to over time. Like right now I'm mid-row because I ran out of the purple yarn and didn't have enough. So now that I'm talking about it, I think I will. I think I'll rip it out and restart it. And this will just be a really chill, casual, knit on it when I feel like it type of a project. So technically it's not even a WIP then, if I'm gonna frog it. I want to just use like the tiny, tiny little scraps. Like I've got a few in here that I was pulling out when I was yarn sorting, like tiny, tiny baby ones that I can't really use for anything else. And I don't mind doing like bigger ones if I don't think that they're going to fit with something else, because I have decided on my scrappy project that I'm going to do is the I think it's Blu-ray. It's another pattern by the unpronounceable designer. I need to look up how to pronounce that and just like try and cement it in my brain. But it's a scrappy garter stitch cardigan, and it's a DK weight, so you would hold fingering weight held double throughout. So I'm really excited about that. I've decided to not use it as one of my 12 cast-on projects, which I have ironed out which ones I'm going to be doing, and we'll talk about that later. I'm going to cast on the Dreaming of Spring test knit that I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to cast on today for my first 12 cast-ons project, and then the rest of them I have narrowed it down to the ones that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to put them on paper and put them in a bowl, and each day draw out which one I need to do. So very, very excited about that. Yes, so I think that's all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have a feeling it's going to be a rather long one, but I hope that you have enjoyed the kind of ramblings and planning and everything. And yeah, I'm going to go check on the boys, and we're going to try and have a nice cozy chill day, and I'm going to try and sneak in some more knitting. But I hope you are all doing well. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful happy new year, since I am unlikely to get any other videos out before the new year. And yeah, I hope you've had a very, very cozy week, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!